Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of November 2025. I hope you're well. I'm afraid I haven't been, and that's why these readings are late, so apologies for that, but also thank you very much for your patience. I appreciate it. Right, before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's via the first link in the description box below. That link takes you to Selfie. Alternatively, you could come join my private community over on the Circle platform. It's called the Order of the Phoenix, and there you can get access to all of the extended content for all of the signs for no extra cost beyond the membership fee. There are also weekly energy readings, and they're not quick check-ins either. They run quite often between 45 to 60 minutes long. You can hang out with some extraordinary people, and if you join at the higher tier, then you can come participate in the live classes that we run over there. And they're not just in tarot, they're in all sorts of things, including astrology and chaos magic and all that sort of thing. So if that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with that link. Sorry, I'm just fucking shoulder pulling. Anywho, let's flip this around and let's ask for 3 cards for Taurus, please. 3 cards for Taurus. Right, there's the first 2. They've come out together. We've got the Page of Swords and the Strength card in your recent past. What about current energy for Taurus, please? Oh, it's the Magician reversed. I can see it under here. It's just fallen down. Oh, next to my bin. So let's have a look. Magician reversed. And what about what's coming towards Taurus? Whoa, okay, Page of Pentacles reversed and the Hierophant reversed. This is interesting because this says nothing to me like how was I even trying to structure that sentence? What this is screaming is abrupt change, an abrupt change in direction, Taurus. Now, at this point, it's probably worth mentioning that at time of recording, Uranus has newly re-entered your sign. He's in retrograde, and he's popped back to finish something off before he commits to being in Gemini for, the next 7 or 8 years, however long it is. We can see it as the wrapping up of a story that started for you in 2018. And much like the energy of Uranus, we've got that abruption with it, right? Now, it's not... It doesn't feel to me like it has the quality of the Tower, because the Tower is about external forces that are coming and kind of, battering things down and saying, right, now you clean up the mess, right, and learn from that. We've got the Knight of Cups in the upright. That's a good card. We've got the Strength card in the upright. That's good. Page of Swords is upright. That's good. These cards here, speaking of abrupt change, feel like they are internally generated, right? Which is kind of what we would expect with Uranus coming to finish up in your sign. Now, you remember I've spoken to you in the last few months, particularly when Uranus left your sign, and I said you're carrying that Uranian charge. Something about this month is about the discharge of that Uranian charge, right? Not for the sake of it, not because I'm just carrying a little bit too much of it around, but it's there for a reason, it's there for a purpose. And even if that involves you, which I think it almost certainly will, intentionally destabilizing yourself, I think you're going to do it anyway. There's an interesting thing for you specifically, Taurus. I've spoken to the water signs, the ones that I've read for, it's all of them, I've read for all of them now, about their participation in this grand water trine that's going on at the moment, right? It's we've got Jupiter in Cancer, we've got Saturn and Neptune and the North Node in Pisces, and then on the other side of the chart we've got a bit of a pile up going on in Scorpio too. Sun, and certainly in a week or so, Moon, Mercury, which is reversed, excuse me, and I think Lilith is there as well. I think that's it. That's probably enough. So obviously, the water signs are all kind of feeding themselves here, but because we all have water houses, like we're all feeling the experience somewhere, right? There's a lot of stuff that's coming up to the surface at the moment. And when I spoke to Scorpio specifically, and I did let them know that in all likelihood this was probably going to be a very intense month for them, I also drew in the fact that Uranus had entered Taurus, and of course, Taurus, you are Scorpio's opposite sign. Now, that's a little less relevant to the other water signs as it was for Scorpio, but the point being, there should be some sort of prepare for the unexpected kind of energy about it, right? Because Uranus is rattling that axis that you two sit on right there. Now, obviously, you've got Uranus in your sign, but also you share this axis with Scorpio. So the stuff that's going on with Scorpio on the other side of the axis, which isn't just about the planets that are sitting in there, but also how it's being fed by the other water signs, is creating quite this fizz. God, no, I don't even know if fizz is the right word, right? But you and Scorpio have got some big stuff, going on right there. Now, whether you're a Taurus sun or a Taurus moon or a Taurus ascendant, there's no doubt in my mind at all that you will be feeling this. Now, the good news is that it's nothing ever stays the same, right? And that energy will start to abate towards the end of the month. The intensity of it might, because we'll end up with Mercury stationing direct and then moving, out of Scorpio, having finished doing what he was there to do, and the sun will move and the moon will move. I mean, Uranus is going to stay where he is at the 29th. No. Yes. No, he's going to go back to about the 27th degree of Taurus, if I recall correctly. I don't know. Sorry, my brain is very woolly at the moment. So he's taking a few steps back just to tidy up this story here before he leaves and moves into the sign of Gemini and then stays there, right? So this has the quality of a Uranian charge that's being angled at something, and it's not what you thought it was going to be. Now, let me pull some cards out on the table, and then we'll talk a little more. So tell me about this Page of Swords, King of Pentacles reversed, Empress on her side. I'm pulling faces because these are both cards that represent the energy of Taurus, just so you're aware. And what else do we have here? Three of Wands in reverse. Okay, tell me about the Magician reversed. Queen of Swords in reverse again. Fuck my life. I saw this reversals everywhere. Okay, we have the World in the upright, interesting, the Moon in the upright, and the Page of Swords in the upright, right, mirroring this Page of Swords energy that's over here. This is very, very interesting indeed. Tell me about the Hierophant and the Page of Pentacles, please. We have first, Two of Wands, makes sense. Another reversal, the Fool. We have the Three of Swords and the Five of Pentacles. Now, I think that Three of Swords came out the right way up, but I'm not entirely sure. So we'll just read it. We'll read it as it fits in with the rest of the cards around it. Knight of Cups is at the bottom of the deck again. It's not impossible, but it's statistically improbable that that should be the case. Right. But it is what it is. Now, here's the thing, Taurus. I think that whatever it is that you choose next, it is not going to scan terribly well for everybody else. And I shall tell you for why, because you don't seem to me to be making decisions from a logical, justifiable, reasonable, in air quotes, position or level of consciousness, because something's shifting in here really, really strongly. And I think to the extent that I would say the world as you understand it is undergoing some sort of evolution here, and you're responding to it from a different place. Additionally, you're allowing your psyche to be restructured in the process. Now, this is kind of big, but then I guess with Uranus sitting on the 29th degree, as he is right now, that there was always going to be something here. Now, sometimes when planets sit on the 29th degree, it's about pushing crisis, right? He's not staying there, he is retrograding a little further. But I feel for you, like the crisis is almost in the pulling up short and saying, fuck, is this even what I want? Because I get a bit of selenite, so I've got something to fiddle with while I'm talking to you. This magician, this card of manifestation as we understand it, right, it is about the act of creation. And he feels like he's just slammed on the brakes. The Hierophant is about structure, it's about stability, it's about tradition quite often, it's about hierarchical stuff. It's about the stability of something that lasts for a long time because it has been built well, which is a very Taurian concern, right? But again, notice how none of the Taurus cards are showing up the right way around, except this one. And then we have the Page of Pentacles. It's like there's something you've been investing in. There's something that you've been building. There's something that you've been involved in an act of creation of. And you are pulling up short here and being like, no, wait, this isn't it. And I do wonder if you have just suddenly realised that rather than escaping from a cage, you've simply just started in the act of creating a new one. This is really, really interesting, right? So let me talk you through how I've come to that conclusion and how we got here, right? We've got the Page of Swords over here. And we have the Strength card. Now, the Strength card is about personal growth. It's about expansion. It's about becoming bigger than we were before. And thus, they're able to carry more load, right? It's about a literal increase in strength, whether that's physically, whether it's emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever it is, right? But the sense that we've gone from being small to being bigger and therefore more capable, stronger, right? Not about making problems smaller, it's about making us bigger, more able to deal with them. And you seem to have been going through some fairly rapid growth on that front. Maybe this has been happening for a month, maybe it's been happening for 6 weeks, but something something in you, whether it's you're feeling braver, you're feeling more confident, there's something that's come along with this, which is it started as a small thought. And it feels like it's expanded from there. It's got bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you're like, we'll get to that in a second. Because there's a different way of seeing the world that you've got going on here. The Page of Swords is always about the collection of information, if you will, right? But it's what purpose we use that information for that I think is the most important, because essentially, the hierarchy of the suit of swords is about acquisition of information, transmission of information, scanning of information and understanding of information, testing veracity of information, before finally ending up at the King of Swords. This is in my opinion, right? This is the little narrative that I've got running in my head for this suit. Before arriving at the King of Swords and decisions being made off the back of everything that has been kind of pulled through the chute, if you will. And one might say we are always, if things are going correctly, we're always kind of scanning for new information. I hate to say, I actually think a lot of people don't scan for new information. They scan for things that confirm positions that they already have, confirmation bias. They scan for anything that validates their opinion, their thought processes, their whatever. Again, probably confirmation bias to some degree, right? They're essentially always trying to scaffold what it is that is their position with more and more information to the point at which it becomes, completely unassailable. I don't feel like you're doing that, Taurus. I don't think you've been doing that for a long time. You are scanning for new information and something's come up. Now, whether this has come up internally or whether this has been sparked by some sort of external event, an external conversation, just a moment of realization where something's dropped into your head and you're like, oh, hang on. It seems like you're looking at everything in a very, very different way. Again, it might be a byproduct of the kind of confidence that you're rocking now that you didn't have, a few years ago. How willing you are to put yourself out there. It does give you a different perspective on things. But the result of that is the King of Pentacles reversing, the Empress on her side, the Three of Wands reversed. This is about carrying out a plan that we have decided. It's the external expression of a decision that we've made in our head where we've weighed up the possibilities and we've picked our route. We are now going in that direction, right? 3, very outward projecting, very much this is what we're doing. The Empress is about creativity and fertility and abundance and the creative act itself. She's come off the boil a little bit. And the King of Pentacles, which would speak, as does the Empress actually, in no small part to your identity, but also the point of why you are doing the thing that you are doing right now. Because the King of Pentacles is a long-term planner, right? He's moving towards a goal, towards an end result. Everything has stopped because you are thinking differently. And what was right just a few months ago suddenly has got alarm bells ringing in your head everywhere. And the weird thing about this is I feel like the consciousness in your head is shifting literally minute by minute, Taurus. And so instead of investing, which is what Taurus likes to do, and building, which is what Taurus likes to do, everything's come to a screeching halt. And it's almost like you're wide-eyed, kind of scanning the contents of your own brain right now and going, what is wrong with this picture? What have I just seen that wasn't right? What have I just seen that calls all of this into question? I have to say, I don't think that you've quite landed on what it is yet, but the sirens are going off, the alarms are going off, and there's something almost, you're almost flinching away from what it is that you are creating here, right? The Queen of Swords is in reverse. Now remember what I just said about the way the information moves through the suit of Swords. When we get to the Queen of Swords, right, she's all about testing these things. She helps us understand what we think. She's in the reverse. She has no idea what it is that we think. I wonder if it's because she has no idea what it is that part of you just spotted that has you absolutely recoiling, like flinching away from the very thing that you've been trying to manifest. And she's kind of, what's going on? Well, I don't understand. You might have found yourself saying, I don't understand to yourself quite a lot. The thing is, though, a few years ago, you'd have got yourself into an absolute tizzy about this, right? And that's probably putting it fucking mildly. Because you don't understand. But it was there and it was grinding away anyway. So you'd have, an internal tizzy. But your mind had not presented you with enough of an evidential basis for changing direction. Ergo, you would have kept plodding on the same path. Now, Taurus 2.0 or 3.0 or 4.0, as you may be right now, certainly Taurus 2025, is going, I picked something up and I don't know what it means. I don't understand it, but I trust that I felt it right. We've got the World card, we've got the Moon, and we've got the Page of Swords. You notice that the emotion is the dominant energy here in terms of what is being expressed, right? Queen of Swords is like, I have no fucking idea what's going on. Like, can somebody help me out? Can somebody give me some information so I can scan it and work out what's happening? But the problem is that what it is hasn't surfaced. Now, it could be that across the other side of the axis, right, whatever's going on in Scorpio, supported by the energy of Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn and Neptune and the North Node in Pisces, like super focusing all of this energy up here, rattling along the chain to Taurus, who has just had Uranus show up there as well. It's like suddenly everything's different. It's, what is it like? It's like Uncanny Valley. That's what it's like, Taurus. I mean, you're looking at a picture and you're like, it sort of looks all right, but there's something fucking wrong here. I know there is. And it's the gap between what should be there. Oh, no, hang on. It's almost like you can't quite work out what's missing that shouldn't be, or what shouldn't be there that is. Do you know what this puts me in mind of? It's got the Thatcher effect. I think it's called the Thatcher effect because it was first done with Margaret Thatcher, right? You take a photo of Margaret Thatcher and you turn it upside down, right? And it's an illusion because you look at it and it's instantly recognisable as Margaret Thatcher, just upside down, right? But then you turn the picture the right way up and suddenly you realise what you couldn't see when it was upside down, which is to say that her mouth has been cut out and stuckened the wrong way round, and they've done the same with her eyes. Now, when it's the right way up, it looks totally fucking wrong, but when it was upside down, it looked right. That's why it's called the Thatcher effect, right? So you see it with all sorts of... see it all the time now. It's like something... that strong has been picked up by your subconscious, right? That it's almost like flipped the picture the right way around, and your subconscious is recoiling. Now, the Thatcher effect picture that your subconscious is responding to is what it is that you are trying to manifest for yourself and bring about. And like I said, a previous version of you would have gone, well, where's the evidence that there's something wrong? Because the Queen of Swords doesn't know what it is. She's just confused. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? But everything else is jangling really hard and saying, no, this isn't it. And the thing that's making the difference is the fact that we've got the World card there representing the end of a cycle. Now, the end of the cycle could be your desire to have things, written in triplicate, cast iron evidence presented before you change course. You don't need that now. You just need the entire internal sirens to be going off. And if the internal sirens are going off, that's almost like it's enough, which is never how things used to be. Because, like I said, the moon's the thing that's in the upright. The moon is the thing that has spotted what is wrong here. And even though you can't work out what it is, you trust yourself enough to know that if the sirens are going off, the alarms are going off, there's big red flashing lights, even if you can't put your finger on where the problem is, there is a problem and you trust it. The Page of Swords is kind of looking back at this moon here and it's going, right, well, okay, well, I know that there's something going on. I trust that there is something going on. I trust it's something to do with what I'm trying to manifest, what I'm trying to bring about, what I'm trying to do. But I don't know what it is. Now, to be clear, the Magician card, particularly in the presence of the Knight of Cups, can be, and this is not going to be true for all of you, but I can see it, so I've got to say it. That is a pairing. That is one of the most fucking sinister pairings in the tarot for me. Because what you have there is someone who is willing to manipulate your feelings to get what they want, right? Not just accidentally, not just a little bit, but full scale, turn your view of the world upside down so that they get what they need, and they'll do it by appealing to your emotions, right? That's not going to be for all of you, but it does suggest that there could be a rather deceptive creature in your midst somewhere. Now, if it isn't that for you, then it's much more about what you're trying to create, right? It could be about the end result that you're even working to. It could be, the realization that nothing about what you're trying to manifest is actually in alignment with who you are. It might have been in alignment with who you were this time last year, But are you actually creating a bigger cage for yourself when the whole point of it was to get out of the cage in the first place? I could see how each and every one of these would be appropriate somewhere. But again, the thing that unifies all these different interpretations of the same set of cards is the feeling that something is not right, and the fact that you are listening to it. Now, when we come into November, the rest of November, we've got something very, very interesting happening here, right? The Hierophant is in reverse. Structure, stability, hierarchy, business, sometimes the unchanging kind of creaking edifice of Hierophant energy, which doesn't want to change, is completely resistant to change. And that's what is a good thing about the Hierophant, but it's also a thing that is a crap thing about the Hierophant, right? For me, the Hierophant showing up in the reverse is massive instability. It's massive change. You almost said right at the beginning, wow, you're about to just change direction. And it doesn't matter how much effort you've put into what you've got going on here. You're about to veer off in a different direction. This is it. You know, we had all the questioning going on back here, and we've got that really deep cellular wiggle. That's how I used to call it. When I was young, my mum, who is a Taurus, used to say, whenever someone lied to her, that her bones rattled, right? And I just thought this was the most extraordinary, weird thing to say when I was a kid. She'd go, my bones are rattling. And I'd be like, my bones are rattling. Didn't really get what she meant until I got to the age of about 17 or 18. So that would have kind of actually coincided with around about the time where I conceived and gave birth to my son, right? The interesting thing for me was, though, it didn't show up like a bone rattling, which sounds clanky and jarring. It was more like a cellular wiggle. And as soon as I had the feeling the first time, and I went, so my version of it is just a cellular wiggle, and it's like every single cell in my body jiggles at the same time. It's a very, very specific feeling, right? But when that happens, I'm like, ooh, something's going on here. I don't know what it is. I'll work it out. But I trust that feeling. Whether it's a bone rattling or whether it's a cellular wiggle, you're not going forward with this, Taurus. You're quite willing, I think, to not only go back to the drawing board, but actually torpedo this. Now, I don't think you have to go on the warpath. I want to be clear about that. Like, there's no war necessary here. But there is a sudden understanding that maybe the value that you've inputted into this situation, that you've perceived in this situation, rather, has been inputted by stuff that was going on out here. It isn't necessarily being reflected back to you in reality. And it's all coming off the back of a feeling that you're trusting, right? It sent your mind into kind of like, whoa, fuck, what's going on? Kind of, but it's this, nah, not going near that. Not going near that. Where are you? There you are. I get deck blindness sometimes. Like, I'm sitting here at the table and I'm like, where is that fucking deck? And I know it's on the table because I haven't moved, but I can't see it. ADHD for the win, right? What about the Hierophant and the Page of Pentacles? 9 of Cups on its side. Yeah, it's like everything feels compromised. There's the Page of Swords at the bottom of the deck again. It's like this will not lead inexorably to your fulfillment. This will not really lead inexorably to your highest goals, hopes, dreams and aspirations in a way that you thought that it would, right? And this is why there's been so much of your energy that's gone into this, whatever it is, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a project, whether it's a career path, whether it's a move to somewhere, right? The sirens going off are like, oh, no, I have to come back to this. I have to revisit this in a meaningful way with the level of consciousness that I now have, that I didn't have when I started this process. And I have to go back over every detail. I'm telling you now, Page of Pentacles in reverse means a complete withdrawal of investment by you in whatever this was. And this instability that is represented by the Hierophant in reverse, this kind of toppling down, it's you that's doing this, Taurus. Now, I don't think it's too much to do with your identity per se here, but it's like, Pisces. The kind of future that you've been on with planning is not the one that you want. That's what this all comes down to. And maybe there's something Neptunian that has gone on here. Maybe there's a little bit of a distortion, but Uranus coming back into your sign, you're just discharging this Uranian energy and being like, no, fuck this, I'm out. I'm good. I don't need to do this. And we see this here because we've got you coming back to the drawing board, Two of Wands. We've got the Fool in reverse. Interestingly, some readers associate that with the energy of Uranus. I feel like that got shoehorned in at a much later date, and I just don't think it's appropriate, right? So I don't tend to interpret it that way. But we've got the Three of Swords and the Five of Pentacles. It's like the gift of foresight, if you didn't already have it, landing fully formed into your brain, like your third eye cranking wide open and seeing what will be if you continue on this path and going, absolutely fucking not. No, why would I do that? The one thing that you don't ever want to do, Taurus, and I don't mean this as me telling you don't want to do this, but like I've known a lot of Tauruses over my life, right? You pride yourself on your wisdom. Even when you do things that are, not advised, you've learned something from it. And I think that's how you become a natural teacher, right? You do things, you understand them completely, except we're not understanding this over here. And you have a way of breaking it down into its component parts so that it can be understood by other people, right? The last thing you're going to find most Tauruses doing is flinging themselves off a cliff without any fucking idea of how they're going to land at the bottom, right? Because wisdom tells you that that's not the ideal way to get down off a cliff face. Right? For sure, there will be situations where flinging is necessary, being chased by fucking zombies or something like that, right? But as a general rule of thumb, Taurus does not conduct themselves that way. And there is a fear, I think, is it a fear? I'm not sure it is a fear. There is an awareness that there is something that could reach the level of foolishness if you continue going the way that you're going. It's like all the light bulbs are coming on at once. Everything is illuminated. And it's like, well, no, you're damn right, I'm fucking stopping. I need to come back here and reassess everything. Now, this is very much in alignment with, Mercury being in retrograde, but also Saturn is in retrograde and Neptune is in retrograde and Jupiter is in retrograde. Like, the retrograde motion of the planets is an opportunity to stop, reassess, reevaluate, fine-tune, and make sure that we're going in the right direction. And you are hauling ass out of whatever direction you were going in. Like, you're not going that way, because that Three of Swords and Five of Pentacles... I've often described the Three of Swords as being like that cold hard steel that punctures the balloon of our, emotional comfort. It's not ideal. It's not great. And yeah, it's considered to be a negative card, except that, and I feel like I've been saying this a lot recently, it represents a planet in exaltation. Like, why would it do that? Saturn in Libra is its exalted state. And it's not because... Saturn is a bastard who likes to see you suffer. Far from it. He's the planet of... I think he's the planet of wisdom. Some people will tell you it's Jupiter, but I mean, Jupiter was famed for making really stupid decisions, right? Maybe Saturn was as well, right? But the whole point of Saturn is wisdom over time. There's something really valuable here this month for you to see that you could not see. And it's all been spurred by a feeling, and a feeling for which you had no evidence. But you followed it anyway. Now that Five of Pentacles, I think, is the end result of you going the way that you were going. You suddenly see with absolute clarity how this would lead you to a state of not having what you need. Like, you know, whether this is because you've got someone manipulative in your midst who's trying to, you know, massage your desire to move in this particular direction for their own personal betterment, or whether it's I am building a life for myself that I don't even fucking want. Like, I spent so long trying to get away from this. Like, why am I doing it this way? Why am I doing this full stop? It's a rebellion. And it's a rebellion against what you've built, Taurus, which is so fucking Uranian, I cannot even tell you, right? This is your Uranus opposition that happens, I know, between like 42 and 45, is you rebelling against what you built in the first half of your life and doing something much more authentic. Like, here's Uranus stepping back into your sign, and the first thing that's happened is, am I doing that? No, I see it. Don't necessarily understand it, but I see that there's something off here, and I'm not going that way. I'm not fucking doing it. I feel you're being very fucking assertive, not just with other people, but also with yourself over this one, which is fascinating. Right, I'm going to go and do the extended now, because I am curious like the cat to see what's going on here. Now, if you would like to join me, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Sapphire, you can do that on Circle. I would be delighted to see you in either place. And the links for both are in the description below. If that's not your bag, that's absolutely fine. I understand. Whatever you decide this month, it will be right for you. So don't panic that there isn't necessarily something that's... but pay attention to the little feelings, because it's the little feelings here that I think are the important thing. And your willingness to follow them, even though you don't understand them. Even though you might not necessarily have a reason for following them, you know? Oof, right, I'm away. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.